All right, get ready, because today we're going deep, really deep, into one of the most recognizable structures ever built, the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Almost 600 years it's been standing there.
4,600 years.
And it's amazing how much mystery there still is surrounding it.
Yeah, it really
Like,
is.
what was it actually built for?
Right, because most people, I think, when they think of the pyramids, they think of, oh, a tomb for a pharaoh.
It was, but it was so much more.
Okay, so it was a tomb, obviously. It was for Pharaoh Khufu, but what else? What else was it saying?
Well, I think the main thing was this kind of, expression of power, of status,
Right.
cementing his place, not only in society, but also in the afterlife, because the ancient Egyptians really believed in the afterlife. It was super important to them. And we have some texts that actually tell us this.
Oh, really?
The Instruction of Hardjedef, which was written by Khufu's son, actually says that they view tombs as houses for life.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, this wasn't just a place to put a body. It was much, much more than that.
It was almost like his spirit was meant to live there.
Exactly. Exactly. And speaking of something that is meant to last, we got to talk about just the scale of this thing.
It's huge.
2.3 million blocks of stone,
Wow.
weighing over 5.5 million tons.
It's hard to even imagine that.
And then on top of that, 8,000 tons of granite were used in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, where did they get all this stuff? How did they move it? Did they have, ancient dump trucks or something?
Right. Yeah, how did they get it there?
So most of the limestone actually came from right there, the Giza Plateau itself, but the white limestone they used for the casing, that had to be brought in from Tura. That's about 10 kilometers away.
Okay.
But the granite came from Aswan, which is over 900 kilometers away.
That is so far.
Yeah.
Talk about a long-distance relationship, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that must have taken some serious planning and organization, especially without, modern transportation.
Absolutely. And you can tell when you look at the precision with which they place these stones, because the average gap between these casing stones is only 0.5 millimeters.
Wait, 0.5 millimeters? That's like the thickness of a credit card.
Yeah.
How did they do that? Did they have, microscopic rulers and lasers back then?
No lasers.
Right.
They were incredibly skilled, these craftsmen. I mean, and we actually have replicated some of the tools they used.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of have an idea. And it's not just, the placement of the stones. The Great Pyramid itself is aligned to the cardinal directions with just incredible accuracy.
I do remember reading about some theories about how they achieved that. Was it something to do with the stars?
Yeah, there's a few theories. One of them is that they use a solar gnomon,
Okay.
which is basically just, a stick in the ground that casts a shadow.
Right.
And by tracking that shadow's movement throughout the day, they could actually figure out true north.
So they were using the sun as a giant compass.
Basically.
That is pretty smart.
Pretty smart. And then another theory is that they were looking at the pole star. Because the pole star stays relatively fixed, in the night sky. So it could have been used to help align the sides of the pyramid.
Wow. So they were looking to the stars for guidance.
It's possible, yeah. Then there's the simultaneous transit method.
The what method?
The simultaneous transit method.
Okay.
This one involved looking at two specific stars as they cross what's called the meridian.
Okay.
This method requires, really precise timing, a lot of knowledge about the stars.
Yeah.
And it really shows that they knew a lot about, astronomy.
It's honestly mind-blowing. We kind of think of these ancient civilizations as being so far behind us, but they were clearly masters in so many ways.
Oh, yeah.
But, you mentioned earlier about the pyramid being covered in this white limestone casing.
Right.
What happened to it?
Well, sadly, it was basically stolen over the centuries.
Oh, no.
Pilfered away and probably used for other building projects. So if we could go back in time, I mean, this thing would be a sight to behold.
It would be sparkling. Like a giant sparkling beacon in the desert.
Exactly.
It's too bad that we can't see it that way today.
Speaking of missing pieces, was there anything on the very top of the pyramid?
There was.
Like a grand finale?
Yeah, it's called a pyramidion.
A pyramidion?
Yeah, it's the capstone that would have sat at the very, very peak.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it was lost a really, really long time ago.
What do you think it was made of? Do you think it was, solid gold?
I mean, a solid gold capstone would be pretty amazing.
Right.
But realistically, it was probably made from limestone, granite, maybe basalt, something like that. But, its absence has led to a lot of, speculation
I bet.
over the years.
Yeah.
And also, without it, the Great Pyramid is about 8 meters shorter than it used to be.
Okay, so we've talked about the outside a lot. We can't forget about what's inside the Great Pyramid.
Oh, yeah.
I am dying to explore these chambers, these passageways inside. Where do we even begin?
Well, let's journey to the center of the Great Pyramid, shall we?
Imagine entering through the original entrance. It was on the north side. Now, tourists enter through a different way, thanks to some, we'll say, ambitious explorers.
Ambitious. Are we talking Tomb Raiders here?
Well, according to legend, it was actually the Caliph al-Mamun. He was the one who created this new entrance, like way back in the 9th century. But some scholars think there was actually a tunnel that was started way, way before that, maybe not too long after the pyramid was actually sealed up.
Intriguing. Okay, so we're in.
We're in.
What's the first stop on this pyramid adventure?
Let's start with what's called the descending passage.
Okay.
So it's a long, narrow corridor that slopes downwards into the heart of the pyramid. And this is where things start to get really interesting.
I am ready. Tell me more. What's down there? What's in the depths of the Great Pyramid?
Well, first you come to this junction, right? One path, it leads to the subterranean chamber.
Oh!
Which they carved it right out of the bedrock itself.
Ooh, secret chamber. Was this, like, part of the original plan?
Yeah, some experts actually think that this chamber was supposed to be where Khufu was buried, but for some reason they changed their minds.
Interesting. Okay, so what about the other path at this junction?
The other path is where you start going up.
Okay.
It's called the ascending passage, and that ultimately leads to what is maybe the most impressive part of the whole pyramid.
Okay.
It's called the Grand Gallery.
Okay, I'm definitely ready for that. But before we move on, I am curious about this subterranean chamber. Is there anything to see down there, or is it just an empty space?
I mean, it is pretty large, but it's not just empty. There's a few interesting things. There's a corridor that doesn't lead anywhere.
Oh.
And this really deep shaft that's called Paring Shaft, which was actually dug out in the 19th century by someone trying to find hidden chambers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they spent a year and a half digging through solid rock, only to come up empty-handed.
A year and a half, just digging. Wow, okay. So let's head back up to the ascending passage. It sounds like we are finally on our way to the main event.
Yeah, so the ascending passage itself is pretty amazing. It's completely straight, lined with smooth limestone. And at the top, you come face to face with these 3 massive granite plugs.
Plugs?
Yeah, they were meant to seal off the pyramid forever.
Oh, so that was how they sealed it up.
Yeah.
Like those granite plugs were supposed to make sure that nobody could get into the king's chamber.
Exactly. They were meant to be impenetrable. However, as we mentioned earlier, some people found a way around.
Right.
Yeah, Caliph al-Mamun, he was a pretty resourceful guy.
So they bypassed the granite plugs. So how did they do that?
They had to get a little bit creative. They tunneled through the limestone next to the plugs, the softer stone.
Oh, smart.
And once they got past that, they were in the ascending passage, and that took them right to the bottom of the Grand Gallery.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready to be wowed. Paint me a picture of this Grand Gallery. What is it that makes it so special?
Imagine this long, narrow corridor sloping upwards at a pretty steep angle. The walls are polished limestone, and the ceiling is corbelled inwards, which makes it feel really tall and grand.
Corbelled inwards. What does that mean?
Basically, it just means that the stones are stacked so that each layer overhangs the one below it, and then eventually they meet at the top to form a point.
Okay, so like a stone jigsaw puzzle pointing upwards.
Yeah, something like that.
Was this Grand Gallery just meant to be impressive, or did it actually serve a practical purpose?
That's still a bit of a mystery, but there are some theories. Some people think it was used to actually move those massive granite blocks that form the ceiling of the king's chamber. There's even slots in the walls that could have been used to hold wooden beams.
So they were hauling those giant stones up that steep incline.
Yeah.
It's just, it's incredible to think that they could do that thousands of years ago.
It's pretty amazing.
But there's always another layer to this pyramid, isn't there?
Always.
I think you mentioned something about, a recent discovery in this Grand Gallery.
Yeah, so in 2017, scientists, they were using a technique called muon radiography.
Muon radiography?
Yeah.
Okay.
It basically uses cosmic particles to see through solid objects.
Okay.
And they found this large void above the Grand Gallery.
A void, so like an empty space.
Yeah, like a big empty space. It's at least 30 meters long.
Wow.
And it has a very similar cross-section to the Grand Gallery itself.
Okay, hold on. Muon radiography. That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. What are we talking about here? Like a secret chamber, lost treasure?
We don't know yet. I mean, we can't get to this void.
Okay.
And its purpose is a complete mystery. Some people think it might be another construction gap, a leftover from the building process. Other people think it could be something way more significant.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
We've only just started exploring the Great Pyramid, and we've already encountered secret passageways, a mysterious void, mind-blowing engineering. What's next on our journey?
Well, we still got to see the heart of the pyramid. The final resting place of Pharaoh Khufu himself.
You mean the King's Chamber?
The King's Chamber.
Let's go. Lead the way. I can't wait to see what's in there.
All right, so here we are at the top of the Grand Gallery.
Okay.
About to enter the King's Chamber.
Right.
But first, we got to go through this little space. It's called the antechamber.
The antechamber.
Yeah.
Okay, what's in the antechamber?
Well, it's lined with granite.
Okay.
And think of it as like the last line of defense.
Oh.
Like an ancient security system. It was designed to house these giant granite blocks. They're called portcullis stones.
Portcullis stones.
Yeah, and they could be lowered to completely block the entrance to the King's Chamber.
So they went through all this trouble to seal off this chamber with these giant stone doors. What were they trying to protect in there?
Good question. Unfortunately, it seems like, whoever designed this kind of overlooked a crucial detail.
What do you mean?
There was actually a way to bypass these portcullis stones. You could climb up through the space above them.
A design flaw in the ancient security system. You'd think they would have caught that.
Yeah.
So did those sneaky looters actually manage to get past these giant stone doors?
They did. They made a hole in the ceiling and snuck right past them and got into the King's Chamber.
So much for impenetrable defenses.
Yeah.
So tell me about this King's Chamber.
Okay.
Is it as fancy as I imagined?
Well, it was looted a long time ago, probably in the Middle Kingdom.
Oh.
But even without all the treasures it would held, it's still pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's lined completely with polished granite, and the ceiling is made up of 9 massive granite beams. Each one weighs about 40 tons.
40 tons. I can't even imagine lifting one of those beams, let alone 9 of them.
Yeah, it's an incredible feat of engineering, and what's even crazier is that the beams are actually starting to crack because the chamber has settled over time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that is kind of a sobering thought that even the strongest rock can't resist, thousands of years of pressure.
Yeah.
But I think you mentioned that something was left behind in the King's Chamber, right?
Yes, the sarcophagus.
Okay.
It's a large rectangular box made from a single block of granite. That's where Khufu's body would have been.
For a pharaoh, I kind of expected something a little more, elaborate.
Yeah.
Is it decorated at all?
It's actually pretty simple. No inscriptions, no decorations. I think what's impressive is just the sheer size of it.
Right.
And the fact that they were able to carve it so precisely out of a single block of granite using copper tools.
It's amazing. I can barely put together furniture from, IKEA instructions.
Right.
So no hidden compartments or secret messages carved into this sarcophagus.
Not that we found.
Okay.
But there are some other cool things in the King's Chamber.
Oh, wow.
If you look closely at the north and south walls, you'll see these 2 narrow shafts.
What are those? Like air conditioning for the pharaoh. It's got to get pretty stuffy in there.
That's what a lot of people thought, but actually, we're not really sure what their purpose is.
Oh, really?
They don't seem to be for ventilation. They're too narrow, and they don't connect directly to the outside.
Oh, interesting. Well, if they weren't for air, what were they for? Escape routes for the pharaoh's soul.
There's a few theories. Some people think that they were symbolic, intended to help Khufu's soul ascend to the heavens.
Okay.
Some even think that they align with specific stars.
Like a built-in star map to the afterlife. That's pretty cool. Wait, but weren't there, more chambers, above the King's Chamber? This pyramid is like a Russian nesting doll of secret rooms.
You're telling me there's 5 more compartments that are stacked right on top of the King's Chamber. They're called relieving chambers.
Relieving chambers. What, were they meant to relieve boredom? Like ancient Egyptian entertainment rooms?
Not quite. They were designed to relieve pressure.
Okay.
Specifically the pressure on the King's Chamber from all those stones above it.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that 40-ton ceiling caving in on you. So how did they discover these relieving chambers? Did Al-Mamun find them when he was, doing his renovations?
No, these were actually found much later in the 18th and 19th centuries. And when they finally got into these chambers, they made a pretty cool discovery.
Okay, I need to know. What did they find?
The walls of these relieving chambers were covered in red ochre paint.
Red ochre paint.
Yeah, and they weren't just random scribbles either. They were hieroglyphs. And they spelled out the names of the work gangs who built the pyramid.
Like ancient Egyptian graffiti. Construction workers leaving their mark for, future generations. Khufu's crew was here.
It's more like The gang, the white crown of Nunkufu is powerful.
Okay.
But yeah, it gives us a really fascinating look into the lives of these people who built this monument.
That's so cool. We've talked so much about Khufu, but it's easy to forget that there were all these other people, thousands of skilled workers who actually made all of this happen.
Absolutely.
So what's next on our pyramid tour? Are we heading back down the Grand Gallery?
Let's step back from the pyramid itself for a minute and take a look at what's around it, the complex that it was part of.
I love it.
Yeah, because as grand as the Great Pyramid is, it was only one part of a much larger royal complex.
So it was more like a pyramid city.
Exactly.
Okay. What else was out there?
First, imagine that the pyramid wasn't just bare stone. It was surrounded by these temples and paved courtyards, all connected by this long causeway.
Oh, wow.
That led down to a valley temple, which was on the banks of the Nile River.
Okay, so it was like a whole palace complex.
Yeah, exactly. Now, sadly, most of those structures haven't survived, but we have found enough evidence to kind of piece together what it would look like. Imagine this grand temple made of polished granite and alabaster right next to the pyramid.
That sounds incredible. Was this temple where Khufu, went to hang out with the gods or something?
Well, we know that they performed rituals there. They made offerings, both during his life and after his death. So it was definitely a place of worship.
Okay, so super important place.
Yep.
Wait, but you also mentioned that there were other pyramids, right? Were there smaller pyramids for mini pharaohs?
Not quite mini pharaohs.
Okay.
There were 3 smaller pyramids, and they were built for Khufu's wives.
Okay.
And then there's this tiny little satellite pyramid that we don't really know what it was for.
Oh.
And then there's also what's called the East Cemetery.
The East Cemetery.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where members of Khufu's family and high officials were buried.
So it was a whole pyramid neighborhood. Everybody wanted to be close to the action.
Exactly. It shows how important it was to be buried near the pharaoh, even in death. But one of the coolest things we found in this complex isn't another pyramid, it's something else.
What is it?
It's the boat pits.
Boat pits. Okay. Did the ancient Egyptians bury their yachts with their pharaohs?
Not ordinary boats.
Okay.
These were massive ceremonial ships that they carefully took apart and buried next to the pyramid.
Okay.
And one of these boats, the Khufu ship, has actually been reconstructed.
Oh, wow. From over 1,200 pieces, and you can actually see it today in a museum.
I've got to see that. So why bury ships with the pharaoh? Did Khufu need a ride to the afterlife?
Well, there are a couple of theories about that. One theory is that they were what they call solar barks, which were supposed to carry the pharaoh's soul with the sun god, Ra.
Okay.
Another theory is that they were used in these super elaborate funeral processions to transport Khufu's body to his final resting place.
Either way, it's a pretty remarkable find. 43 meters long, made entirely of cedar wood, no nails. Just incredible craftsmanship. Really makes you appreciate the skill of the ancient Egyptians. But even with all these amazing discoveries, we still haven't answered, the biggest question. How did they actually build this thing?
That's the million-dollar question, or maybe I should say the 2.3 million block question.
Right.
How did they lift these massive blocks into place? How did they get that kind of precision? It's a mystery that has puzzled people for centuries.
All right, I am on the edge of my seat. Tell me, how did they do it? Well, we've gone inside, we've looked around outside, we've even talked about the afterlife. But the how of its construction, that is the final piece of this ancient puzzle. And we will get to that in part 3.
All right. All right, we're back, ready to finish up our deep dive into the Great Pyramid.
Part 3.
We've seen the hidden chambers, we've explored the complex around the pyramid, and we've even talked about its connections to the afterlife. But I think we saved the best for last.
Yeah.
How did they actually build this thing?
Yeah, it's a question that's, kept historians and archaeologists and engineers up at night for centuries.
Yeah.
We're talking about 2.3 million blocks of stone.
It's crazy.
Some of them weighing as much as 80 tons, all put together with this insane precision.
Yeah, it's like a giant ancient Lego set, except the blocks weigh more than a truck. How did they do it? I mean, they didn't have cranes or bulldozers back then. Did they, have a secret society of superhuman weightlifters?
I wish it was that simple. There's been so many theories over the years, and some are definitely wilder than others, but the truth is, we still don't know for sure.
Come on, you can't just leave me hanging like that. What are some of the top theories, the ones that people think are most likely?
Okay, well, One of the most popular theories, and it's been around for a long time, is the ramp theory.
Okay.
The idea is that they built these huge ramps made of earth that went up the sides of the pyramid,
Okay.
and they would use these ramps to drag the blocks up using sleds or rollers.
So like a giant highway system just for pyramid construction?
Exactly.
I mean, that makes sense, but wouldn't those ramps have to be absolutely enormous?
Oh, yeah, we're talking potentially kilometers long. It would have taken a massive amount of labor and resources just to build the ramps themselves. And you think
Right.
something that big would have left some kind of trace, right?
Yeah, there should be some archaeological evidence of these giant ramps somewhere, right?
You'd think so. But so far, there's been no conclusive evidence of them.
Okay, so maybe not the ramps then?
Yeah.
What else? What are some other ideas that people have come up with?
Well, there's another theory about internal ramps.
Okay.
So ramps that were built inside the pyramid itself,
Okay.
as they were building it. This would allow them to move the blocks up as the pyramid grew taller
Oh, okay.
without needing those huge external ramps.
So like a built-in elevator system for the pyramid?
Kind of, yeah. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
But again, we just don't have the evidence to support it. Plus, even if they did use internal ramps, it would have been insanely complicated to actually build and dismantle them as they went.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it wasn't external ramps and it wasn't internal ramps, what else could they have used? Did they, like, invent some kind of ancient Egyptian crane that just disappeared without a trace?
It's possible. People have come up with some very creative theories over the years.
I bet.
Some researchers think they might have used a combination of things, like levers and rollers and maybe even water power to move the blocks. And then there's another idea, even more out there.
Okay.
It's called a spiral ramp.
That's the spiral ramp.
Yeah, imagine a ramp that goes around and around the outside of the pyramid like a spiral staircase.
So as they're building it higher and higher, the ramp just keeps spiraling up with it.
Exactly, and this might sound crazy.
It does sound a little crazy.
But some recent research actually suggests that there might have been these stepped platforms or terraces on the outside of the pyramid,
Okay.
and those could have been the base for the spiral ramp.
Okay, that is actually pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But we still haven't solved the biggest challenge, right? How did they physically lift these blocks, these multi-ton blocks, vertically?
Yeah, that's the real heart of the mystery.
Right.
And I think this is where we have to start speculating a little bit.
Okay.
Some people think they might have used a system of counterweights and pulleys, similar to what we use today to lift really heavy things.
So like ancient Egyptian construction cranes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine them pulling on these ropes and levers, hoisting these giant stones up. It's pretty amazing to think about.
It's a pretty epic image.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, that would have required some super strong materials and some really advanced engineering to make that work.
Oh, absolutely.
It seems like we're still a long way from really knowing how they built the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just one of those mysteries that's going to stay unsolved forever.
Well, I wouldn't say we're back at square one. Every new discovery, every experiment that they do brings us a little bit closer to understanding how they did it.
I guess that's part of the magic of it all.
Yeah.
The Great Pyramid is this reminder that there's always more to learn.
And it makes you realize how much we probably underestimate the ancient Egyptians.
Yeah.
They were so good at architecture, engineering, astronomy, logistics. I mean, what they accomplished is mind-blowing. And it still inspires awe and wonder today.
Yeah, it really does. It makes you wonder what people will think of our accomplishments thousands of years from now.
Right.
Will they be, like, in awe of our skyscrapers and space stations? Or will they be trying to figure out how we built them?
Maybe both. But I think for now, we can just enjoy the mystery of the Great Pyramid. It reminds us that there are still secrets out there waiting to be discovered.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the Great Pyramid of Giza. We've explored its hidden depths, marveled at its mysteries, and hopefully made you a little bit more curious about this ancient wonder. What's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this episode?
Keep questioning, keep exploring, never stop learning. You never know what incredible discoveries are out there, whether they're buried under a mountain of stone or hidden right in front of us.
Well said. Until next time, keep on diving.